Hey everyone, Brayden here, and today I want to show you the Tana Travel Journal. This is a new template that I'm releasing today, and I just wanted to give you a quick rundown. You can pick this up for free or pay what you want if you want to, but let's dive right into it. This is the template that you see here, and I'm in the demo tab, and let's just run down what you're going to get here, run through it. So let's say that I have a trip that I want to track. And let's say, for example, this one is the Galveston Island trip. And this is a personal trip, so I'm going to tag it with my personal trip super tag. And inside of here, you can start to see some information, some attributes that make up this trip. You can see that my primary transport is going to be driving. And from here, you can select different options and even add options of your own that suits your lifestyle or how you like to travel. You can even select multiple. So let's say you'll be driving and flying, but for this example, I'm just going to say I'm going to be driving. You can see that this is a personal trip because I am using the personal super tag. So if you use the personal trip super tag, this field will already be set to personal. And this is an upcoming trip, so I can track the status of the trip as well. And now what's really cool is down below, I can actually start to create an itinerary for the trip. So if you are very detail oriented like I am, I like to have all of my days planned out. And so that way I can see what's coming up next. I like to track all of the information for everything that I'm going to do during my trips. So we can see here that I have a drive to Galveston itinerary item. This is set to day number 1. Here's the date. I can track any lodging information. So maybe this is the address for the local hotel I'm going to stay at. Maybe it's an Airbnb. I can put some receipts in here. This field type is anything, so you can fill this out however you want. And then this is a relates to field, which is just going to show a relation between a specific trip. And so, of course, I've set that to Galveston Island. And so you can create as many itinerary items as you want to. You can see here I've created some additional ones, but now back up at the trip, I also have a live search so we can collect all of that and display it at the trip level. And so you can see I've displayed this as a table so you can see the different day numbers and see a lot of information at once. And of course, you can show as many of these columns as you want, or you can hide them if you don't need them. So that is a personal trip. The next type of trip that we have in this template is a work trip. Now this one's a little bit different because the work trip has this expenses live search, which we're going to look at in a little minute. But let's look at the primary transport here is flying. We have a work trip. This one is planning. So let's say that I know I'm going to be going on a work trip here this year. And what I'm going to do is start to define some different airlines that my work allows me to fly with. So let's say American. Here's my name. I'm just adding this using my person tag. Now this is probably going to be replaced if you have a person super tag in your workspace already, but this is just an example. And then here's where some of the really cool stuff happens is that you can define an airport. And so I've defined Chicago O'Hare. You can also define, flights. And what's really cool is that if you've defined your airports, you've defined your airlines, you can actually build out a flight node that displays a bunch of information. So for example, it says I'm flying American Airlines from DFW to O'Hare on Monday, August 14th. This is just all made up, of course, but you can see all that information here. This title is built automatically from the fields that you fill in. And so you don't have to worry about any of this. You just have to fill out the fields. You can see I've even listed passengers. So let's say you're taking your family, you can list all of them here just so you're tracking all of that. You can even see a backlink on that person node if you'd like. And so all this is taken care of for you. I really like this because it allows me to see all of this information without having to dig into the node. And then I've even created an itinerary item that references and mentions the different flights. So you can kind of see if I go back up to the actual work trip and I go into the itinerary, day number 1, I'm flying from DFW to Chicago O'Hare. And of course, you could fill this out more if you want to. You can also look and see the flights for this trip. So there's a live search that will collect all the flights related to this trip. and that's very handy, I found, in my experience. And then lastly, I want to show you a work trip that's already been completed. So you can see here, I did this earlier this year, let's say, and I tracked some itinerary items. I tracked some flights on when that happened, but I also created, you can see here near the bottom, some expenses. And so let's say your work allows you to expense different items during a work trip. You can track all of that here. You can track what that expense was for, how much it was for, the date that it happened, and then the status. So maybe you've reported this expense, maybe you haven't, or maybe the expense has already been paid back into your account. You can track all of that here. And of course, you can see that at the top level of the trip using the expense live search. And one thing I've done here is I've actually calculated the sum, the total amount for all of the expenses, just so you can see that here. And I also really like to see the expense status column in the table. I find that very helpful, especially when I need to go ahead and report those expenses. So there we go. That is the Tana Travel Journal, the system that I've been using. If you want it, feel free to take a look in the description below. I've left a link where you can pick this up. Thanks.